My name is Daniel. I'm 27 years old, and the story I'm about to tell happened to me 10 years ago. At the time, I lived with my mother, Helena, my father, Samuel, and my newborn sister, Emily. We lived in a rural area in the countryside of Minas Gerais on a small farm. My mother was a simple country woman. My father, on the other hand, was someone I never admired. He drank, cheated on my mom, and never stayed home. Of course, my mother didn't know, or maybe she just pretended not to know. I couldn't accept the situation, but I understood my mother in some way. Despite all the problems in our family, everyone's attention was focused on Emily, including mine. She was beautiful, with bright blue eyes and fair skin like a porcelain doll. She was only 3 months old back then. My father seemed so proud of her. It was as if he cared more about her than me. He had no idea the suffering we went through every time he went out drinking and left us alone. But the real horror of what happened didn't involve his drinking. Every night we noticed something strange. Our chickens were disappearing, just vanishing. By dawn, we'd be missing 2 or 3 chickens. My mom was furious. She was sure someone was stealing them. One night I stayed up late to try to catch whoever it was. I was dozing off when I heard slow, deliberate footsteps in the yard. Then, a noise. I opened the door, but the creature was already gone. 2 chickens had vanished at once. That was when I knew this wasn't a regular thief. It was an animal. At the time, I thought it might be a wolf. And how I wished it had just been a wolf. The next morning, I told my mother everything. She was furious and said she wouldn't sleep until she had killed that wolf. We made a plan. She would open the door and I would shoot it. I was a decent shot. Night came. We were tense. I kept looking at my mom and she at me. We heard the leaves rustling outside. The air was heavy. My heart was racing because what I'd heard the night before hadn't sounded like a normal animal. I had a feeling it was something far worse. Then the footsteps began, slow, steady, coming toward the chicken coop. I looked at my mom and nodded. She opened the door. What I saw that night I will never forget. It wasn't a wolf, it was a werewolf. A creature covered in black fur, walking only on its hind legs, nearly 2 meters tall. It was dark, but its glowing yellow eyes lit up the night. Its face. It wasn't the face of any animal I knew. To me, it was the face of a demon. Shocked, I pulled the trigger, but it was as if nothing had happened. The bullet didn't faze it. It didn't even flinch. Then, feeling threatened, it let out a howl. That sound still haunts me to this day. It suddenly turned its gaze toward Emily, who was in my mother's arms. In a panic, my mom ran into the forest, hoping to lose the creature. I followed, but I got lost in the trees. Suddenly, I heard my mother's terrified scream. I ran toward the sound. There she was, cornered, with the werewolf right in front of her, ready to strike. It slashed at Emily, but thankfully it only tore the yellow wool blanket my mom had lovingly sewn for her. Emily wasn't hurt. I shouted to distract it. The beast turned and slowly approached me. We stood face to face. It stared deep into my eyes. I could see the saliva dripping from its sharp teeth. But for some reason, it didn't attack. It turned and vanished into the forest. I picked up Emily and helped my mother. We were in shock. Nobody said a word. We tried to sleep, to pretend nothing had happened. But we couldn't. This time I knew I couldn't hide it from my father. But the next morning, everything was normal. My mom acted like nothing had happened. Same expression, same routine. Then my father came home, and we all sat at the table for breakfast. That's when I noticed something that made my blood run cold. On my father's hand, between his fingernails, there were yellow wool fibers, the same wool from Emily's blanket, the same blanket the werewolf had torn the night before. I stood up in shock. A flood of memories raced through my mind. It had been him all along. He was the cursed beast who had been stealing the chickens. He was the one who almost killed the daughter he claimed to love so much. I felt dizzy. My hands were shaking. He kept drinking his coffee like nothing had happened. I couldn't stay in that house any longer. I looked at my mom. Her eyes were filled with tears. It was like she already knew the truth. She understood I was leaving. I made a gesture, asking if I could take Emily with me. She held the baby tighter. That was her answer. I ran, saddled my horse and rode as far away as I could, never to return. It's been 10 years since that night. I never heard from my family again. I still can't understand how my mother chose to live with a demon, someone who could have killed her or her daughter under the full moon. This story is in my past now, but I will never forget that night, and I will never forget what I saw.